So today I have a 2013 Subaru Legacy. It's the non-turbo version with the 2.5 liter engine, and these engines are notorious for blowing head gaskets. You'd think by now Subaru has figured out this issue, but even a 2013, this has leaking head gaskets. The issue is it's losing coolant, it's overheating badly. So the plan is to remove this engine, tear it down, clean everything up, resurface the block and the heads, and install a new head gasket. Hopefully it will last another 100,000 miles. I will say that having done the work, this was the easiest and fastest engine removal that I've ever done. There is a lot of room to work, everything is well laid out, and there's not a lot of stuff to disconnect. So to get started, I'm going to remove the air box assembly. Battery has got to come out. So what I plan to do with the power steering and the AC compressor is to leave them in the car. I'll unbolt them and set them aside. So that's what I'm doing here. I am disconnecting all of the plugs, getting them out of the way. I'll move on to the serpentine belt before removing the pump and the AC compressor. I'll also have to disconnect the fuel line, and to do that you need this quick disconnect tool. It's made of plastic and you can get them at any auto parts store. They usually come in different sizes. All you have to do is insert it into the line, and what that does is it will engage the ears or the clips inside and allow you to remove the line. Next, I want to start disconnecting all of the coolant hoses, but before I can do that, I need to drain the radiator. To get to the drain plug, I need to remove the bottom under cover. And with the plastic cover out of the way, I can now get to the bottom of the radiator and remove the drain plug. Now that the coolant is drained, I can go ahead and disconnect the main radiator hoses. There's one on the top and one on the bottom. So the top one I'm going to completely remove, and the bottom one I'll just disconnect it from the engine side, but leave it connected to the radiator. There's not a lot of room, so there's really no point to removing it from the radiator side. And now I'm going to disconnect the main engine harness. You have to press this center tab right here and then lift up the lever and then pull the plug. There are two more coolant hoses that are going to the heater core. We have the inlet and the outlet. I'm going to remove the hose clamps and then twist those rubber hoses out. Next, I'm going to move on to the grounding strap. So on the passenger side, the strap is broken, and on the driver's side it's still intact, so I'm going to disconnect it from the engine side. When I put this back together, I'm just going to buy two new grounding straps. Oxygen sensors have to be disconnected, and then the bracket on the bottom has to be unbolted from the engine. The sensor, everything else will stay with the exhaust when we lift the engine up. So like I said earlier, the exhaust will stay with the car. We do have to disconnect the exhaust manifold. There are 3 nuts on the passenger side, 3 nuts on the driver's side, holding that manifold in place. I'm gonna go ahead and remove those right now. And then make sure that the exhaust manifold moves. I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the starter next. Remove the cables that are connected to the starter. Now that I have the starter out of the way, I'm going to move on to removing the rest of the transmission to engine bolts. Here is a shot of where all of those bolts are located. Here's a better shot of the bottom of the car where 2 of the bolts are located and also 2 of the nuts. So this car has an automatic transmission, which means that the torque converter is bolted to the flex plate that's connected to the crankshaft of the engine. So I will have to remove the bolt holding the torque converter to the flex plate to have enough clearance. First I need to take out the throttle body. There is an access plug on top of the engine that I removed. So there are 4 bolts holding the torque converter to the flex plate, and what you do is you take a wrench and you rotate the crankshaft until one of the bolts is accessible from the access cover. You remove the bolt while holding the crankshaft in place. And once that bolt is out of the way, just rotate the crankshaft again until the second bolt is accessible, and you just do that same thing till you get through all 4 bolts. And at this point, all that's really left to do is disconnect the center motor mount right there. I'm going to connect my engine hoist and lift the engine up just a little bit just to remove any tension on that mount. I'm going to remove that center bolt on the mount and then also the bracket that connects the mount to the engine. At this point, the engine can be lifted out of the engine bay. There's plenty of room. You don't need to remove the radiator, the fans. You'll have to slide the engine forward a bit to clear those dowel pins. And then it's just a matter of raising it up and out. So this has been part 1 of the head gasket replacement video. I'm going to, in the next video, disassemble the engine, replace the head gaskets, resurface the block and the heads, replace any other gaskets or seals that I have to. So I'll upload that in a couple of days. I'll see you guys next time.